you doing today? All right. This is going really good here. Let's get started into this. Excellent. Okay. Perfecto mundo. Nice. All right. So what we're doing now is we're going into the classical French. This is another game that we're going to be going over. I'm excited to share with you. And so what we'll do is we're gonna hop right on in. One second, let me get a drink. There we go. Ready to roll. Ready to rock and do roll. Let's see. E4, E6. Oops, we gotta flip the board. There we go. D5. That's really good. We're doing good so far. Knight C3, and then Knight F6. This is the move. Start of the classical French. We can go down to there's a couple variations where it goes bishop to e7. Then remember what we talked about here. It's actually white to move. Let me see what was played. Oh, they played bishop to b4 on this one. Hmm. Sorry, that's my bad there. It wasn't bishop b4 here. It was bishop g5. That's right, and then bishop b4 was the move that was played. There's a line after this move where the bishop goes to e7. We talked about that, and then you have this line here. That's a line. Then there's even a line where the bishop comes out. I think we after. Let's see what's the move after. I think after bishop there, knight usually comes out here. We talked about that. That's usually the move that not no nope. I apologize. It's not it. See bishop there. I want to make sure I'm having all these moves right. C F G. Yeah, this is a sideline, a different sideline. There's a couple lines where the bishop actually comes out to d5 here. I mean bishop d7, and then there's this move where white can actually play um, c5 here. That's that move. There's also a move where you kick the bishop. There's a lot of different continuations, and what we've seen the majority of the time is actually pawn takes e5 here. Pawn takes e5 or d takes e5 is for one reason. It stops the advance of the pawn to e5. It was in one of Magnus's games when he was younger. He actually took here. Hikaru actually plays that move too. So it's a pretty strong move that the grandmasters seem to play. This is more of a sideline where you're preparing that even if they get e5 in, you're not really concerned. This is like e5. This is a Makut variation of the line. This is here, and then you have h6. H6 is your bailout here. This is so that if pawn takes, pawn takes, pawn takes, you have rook g1 here, rook g8, and if queen comes to g4, then you play g takes, and you're up actually. You're up a whole one. You're back to equality here, and you're going to be castling basically queen side with here, queen up, and then castles. It kind of evolves into a different type of French defense, but they actually did play this move. So what we'll see is I think h6 was played, and the Makut variation is where bishop gets put back to D2. This is so that none of that trades happens, and it's actually a better position after pawn takes, G takes, F takes, and then rook G8. This is actually an equal game. It's been played multiple times. Like when the queen comes out here, you could actually, if you want to, play F6 here, and then takes, or you could take and play F6. It all depends on your type of play. But the majority of the main line of the Makat variation of the classical French is retreating. Then the knight will go into let's see, bishop takes, bishop takes. Oops, no, no, I'm sorry, bishop takes, C, and not bishop takes because that's not the best. This is actually a slam continuation because you get a very similar position in this. But we're gonna go back really quick, and we're gonna take a look at if D2 isn't played. There's actually three lines that you can go down if D2 isn't played. Bishop D2. There's bishop to E3, and that line is gaining in popularity. Then you have knight to E4, and at this point you have queen G4 here, threatening the attack. Then you have G6. You have after G6 you have A3. You can't because there's no way you could take advantage of the pin and attack here. So A3. It's kind of an interesting continuation. This is white's counter striking, black's counter striking, and it's all about. This is a very sharp game. You gotta love the sharp games. So E. Let me see here. For G. I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. Just give me one moment. Yes. Bishop takes. Pawn takes. And then C5. It looks very similar to a opening that we've learned, doesn't it? I know you know what it is. You do excellent. The linear defense, but with one difference. The knight usually isn't here, more advanced. So surprisingly, this is actually a better linear, if you want to think about it, than the one we had before. Because now you have a knight that's getting ready to actually win this pawn, and there's no counter. This is actually a very good position for black. Super duper good. It's like incredible. I gotta say, it's incredibly good. Bishop D3 here. And then bishop D. Let me see. Bishop D3. H5 to attack the queen. Queen F4. There's G5. Now we're starting to get the old pawns a rolling, and that's considered a slam continuation here. So they're loving it. The engine loves it. Queen to F3. Oh, not F6. That would be a blunder. F3 here. Queen F3 and knight takes C3. And now D takes C5. And so you have a slight imbalance here, where black has overextended king pawns. White has a lot of weaknesses on the queen side that are able to be taken advantage of later. So both sides have disadvantages, and white's only advantage is they're more developed, but they do have these weak pawns that if black can get to an endgame, black will be superiorly better. And that's that line with is strong, very strong. Okay, then there's also a line. Let me see here. With pawn takes, we talked about this line. H takes, F takes, G7, Rook g8, and black regains the pawn while picking up the bishop here. That's that line here. There's also one more line. Bishop to c1 with the idea of guarding, and potentially if the bishop takes, pawn takes, the bishop could actually get outside to a3, advanced variation, advanced fianchetto, and winning the pawn. That's always that's a I like that move. They're considering this one a very interesting continuation because there's a lot of thinking that black has to do. Do they want to go down the line where it's very similar to a Winier, or do they? And also black could actually jump in to to e4 here if they wanted to. Let me see. I want to play the move that they're saying was the move. Knight e4 is the move. They're saying that knight e4 is the continuation of queen g4. And I think g let's see, queen g4, king f8 to guard the pawn. Knight g e2. But actually, they don't. They actually didn't need to put knight g e2 because the knight's pinned. So it's kind of funny when they actually write those moves in there. It's cute. There's e5 here. I mean not e5, c5, a3, and then you have the bishop takes. Let's see, b5, and then you have c takes d5, or d takes c5. I mean I had it backwards. Knight takes c3, knight takes c3, bishop takes c3, pawn takes c3, queen c7, and you have a I think it's a equal game with both sides have an chance of surviving in this one. Oh, there's actually, you're kidding me, there's one more. I didn't even think about that one, but I guess it's playable. If h4 here, this one's an interesting move. Bishop h4, g5 because you have to block. This is forced. Bishop g3, knight to e4. You're attacking the two bishops, and knight to e2 here, knight e2, and f5 at this point is actually an exclam continuation. This is crushing. And black stands no worse, but I think black's better in my opinion. I like black in this line. I think I think he's I think he has all the play in the world. I think black's better. Even though the engine gives it a slight advantage for white, I think it's black who's pushing. They also got their one of their breaks in, so if it stopped, the line stopped here, but one line could go. It takes here, and then you have queen takes, and now you're starting to put some more tension on the bishop, maybe even trapping it, maybe even going for knock knock mate. But that wasn't played. But I wanted to go back and I had to show you those lines. Those are the fun lines that you get to study and improve and keep pushing forward. It's so exciting to actually be able to learn. That's the one thing about learning is you get to learn new things, and what happens at that point, you can improve and get better as a player, and then you can show it on the board. And when you get a win or a draw, you can go, I did that, and then you can say, thank you, Lord, for allowing me to be able to do that, because he's the one that gives all of the abilities of people to have gifts like that. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, knight to e4. Now we're attacking here and the bishop, and we're also preparing castles. Whoop 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 whoop. Oh yeah, queen g. Oh wow, wow, king actually went to f8 here. That's interesting. I think the reason you can't castle here, if you were thinking castles, you know what? You got to be careful because if you castle here, then you have queen to h6 here, and who takes h6, and it's a game set and match. So you actually can't castle because the only way that you can actually survive would be to actually play g3, g6 here, and then the rook would actually fall. You'd lose an exchange plus a pawn. You would be in a superiorly worse position. So castles would actually be a double question mark blunder. It'd be the losing move. That's why you have to ask yourself sometimes, how can I hold my pawn? Yes, I may have to give up castling, but I don't lose. Like in this line with king f8, I kind of get what they're saying, that if takes here, the rook could actually grab it, and then you're to the better at this point. So that's the with that move. It's a pretty interesting continuation there. Yeah, I can't wait to see what else we got going here. Excelente. Beautiful. Nice. Okay, they also talked about there's one other line. Actually, after this move, there's a line where you can actually play g6 is the main line where bishop d3, knight takes d2, king takes d2, c5, which you get into a very similar type of setup of a Winnier, but the Winnier is this is a tiny bit different because of the pawn setup, and you don't have a knight on c6 or a bishop on d7, so kind of a little awkward. Takes c5, knight f3. So white's actually getting their pieces unwound. C takes, a knight c6. Don't take because then they'll take back and they'll reconnect everything. So you got it. You don't want to take. Your advantage is that you double this. Otherwise, you have no advantage as black at that point. White will have all the play in the world. So make sure you don't take. You have to take at the correct moment. Like if these two pieces were gone, then you could actually take, and then take. But because you have two pieces protecting, and you have three defenders, you're not going to be able to win the pawn. You're going to end up losing the pawn and not having the ability to, take the pawn when you want to. Okay, let's see here. C knight, queen f4, and hitting there. I think this also allows you them to get queen to e3 to safety the queen if need be. This is kind of an interesting move. It plays against castling because if you castle you lose a pawn, and it plays against the idea of g5 here, so that instead of white just going back and potentially almost getting trapped, when g5 happens, queen can go to e3, and then e3 is a pretty strong outpost because white could at that point play h and then undermine the h4 and undermine the pawn for white, undermine pawns for black. I mean, so that's that move. So h3, c5 there, knight there. Let me see. Okay, queen a5. Now there's some love in the position here. You could actually at this point take. This is actually now playable, and then they can't take back because of the pin. So do you see how you see? The one thing is, we'll step back for a second. Do you see how black? Their focus is right here, is on this pawn. But they have to do one thing that most of us don't really want to do. They have to look to see what their opponent's going to do. And if we can stop our opponent, and also if their opponent's not doing anything to threaten us, and we can counter strike, like a5 is a really strong move, queen a5. because of one thing. It allows that this pawn's absolutely pinned to the king, and when we take, the only piece they could take is the knight, and then we get our optimum set up for white that we want so that we can take advantage of it. Isolated pawns. So it's just pretty. I just gotta say, it's pretty cool how chess, slowly but steadily you can build up your knowledge and get better on it. Okay, so then we have D takes C. So white's basically saying, you know what, I'm surrendering my setup already, and I don't want to have you be the one to do it. So I want to get out of this pin. So now the queen's going to grab the pawn. When white's space and attack chances are tempted basically inferior, that white has more space, but it's the for the cost of that, it's pretty sad. And so yeah, that's the one thing that's interesting. You have to constantly be careful of. Yeah, yeah. There we go. So now we'll continue on with the play of the game. So king there, and then queen to f4 here, which they consider an interesting continuation for white. The main line is actually this. I wanted to show it to you. Bishop d3 is actually the main line continuation. Then you play knight takes, king takes, c5, and we set up. We go into our main idea of h Harry, the h pawn, knight, knight c6 here, and then rook h3 with the idea of a rover, rook up and over. That's the whole idea of the rover. Is there? And then what'll happen is if we played, let's say rook got there, we played g6. They can play bishop takes g6, queen takes g6, and black's in a problem. So black needs to be very, very. They're kind of tiptoeing on very thin ice here, and they have to make sure that the ice doesn't break under their feet. Because if black can hold this, black stands better at this point because of a couple things. Black has a better pawn structure. They have at the present moment they have a more active position, and they also have the ability of taking advantage of all of white's weaknesses on the queen side, where white can't really take any advantages of anything on black's position. So it's black. That's why they're weighing it as an advantage, but a tiny advantage for black. So yeah, it's kind of funny how that turns turn the table on your opponent sometimes, where you got to be very very careful. C4 here. This idea is to cement the queen side and also allow for a potential rerouting of the knight. So after this happens here, no opening up of the queen side, and what'll eventually happen is you get a tempi to move the bishop back, and when you could play knight to e7 here into knight to into f5, and then that rover doesn't work because if I think, let me see, is there any other moves that they played? Bishop e2, yeah, that's the move, and we'll see if we have it right. If we can now play knight to e7, and if they tried to rover, you have knight up to f5 attacking. You rerouted your knight to a better square. Then rook would have to go back, and now your knight's better posted. You actually have time to counter the attack and get your pieces mobilized. It's more closed at this point, so you got to be super duper careful. You might even be able to get f6 in here. At this point, f6 might actually be a playable line. You have to be careful though with queen to g6 here, and I think you're still okay. I think everything's still okay. I would probably play queen e7 here. Um, But then they're saying G5 actually loses the knight. So you got to be careful where you place your queens. Yeah, that would this would have actually been a slight inaccuracy on my part. So you got to always keep that in your forefront. That more likely I should have actually played queen to e8 here. This is an equal position where queen takes, king takes. Then you have g5 here or g4. Knight goes to e7, and then they'll play f4 here, and it'll be an equalish position, but it'll be who has the best mobilized king. So you have to be very careful. You gotta, rather than just moving without thinking, make sure when you move that you know what your opponent's going to do in the next move. Otherwise, what will happen is you'll be like, I didn't see that. And the reason you didn't see it was you didn't take a second to see what your opponent was going to counter your attack with, and you'll end up hanging a piece or losing a piece. So you don't want that. No, 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 no. Okay, so let's do queen f4 here, and now we have c5, counter strike, boom. Bishop, the main move here is, then we take, at this point, the queen takes back, which is actually considered dubious. It really doesn't hurt for the king to actually come up forward. King up. It's not a very good idea for white to actually take with the queen, because the queen then moves out of it. It's a most attacking diagonal, and that's why this is actually the best continuation. Take it here, c4. The bishop moves back to e2, knight c3, and you have c6. Then you have h4. And now you have an interesting threat. This knight e to f5 doesn't work anymore, because if you play knight at e5 and you come in, now there is no queen on g4 to block the pawn from going. So like if you tried something like this, there's actually g4 here, and it's good. They're saying it's equal. I think the reason they're saying it's equal is because of g5 here. I think g5 is the only way that you can actually make it. And then what happens? Pawn takes, and then black's winning here because there's no way that the queen can get out. So at this point, I'm thinking the best continuation would be queen h2, and now it's black. Black can actually take this pawn here, and it's kind of getting sketchy, very sketchy here. So yeah, you could actually sometimes in, like what Maurice Ashley says, you can counter the opponent's ideas of their attack by inviting them to attack you. It's kind of the Aikido principle of the theory of it's the theory of letting your opponent get what you want. Not what you want, but what they want, so that when they get what they want, you can take advantage and destroy them, totally destroy them. Okay, that's always that's the fun part about chess, where counter move, strike, counter move. Then you have queen takes, which is a mistake. I don't think the opponent wanted to go down that line at all. I think white just wanted to have a game where they can castle kingside, like playing knight, knight f3, castles, and then try to knight f3, castles, and then castles, and try to play something like f4 maybe, or h4, and get some attack there, or maybe even just castle queenside. White might just castle queenside, but that's kind of risky, because black already has a pre-made attack, a ready-made attack. So you gotta be super duper careful on this one. Okay, so we have queen a5. Now this is pinned here. Knight f3. c4. Well, it's actually going down, closing the queen side, fixing the pawns as targets. Interesting. So they're actually closing this down to play more of a positional game. If you have if you guys are watching and you have any questions on these games here, put them in. Don't be afraid. I'll answer them. Do the best that I can to answer your questions on YouTube, Kick, and Twitch. Okay. So if any one of those you're watching on, please put in comment because I'm more than happy to answer them. You know what I mean? This is open forum. This is Team Chess Crutcher. We're family. Okay, there's no wrong answer. My teachers always told me this, and I had some really good grandmaster teachers. I was very blessed that said this. The only answer that is wrong is the answer that is not asked. Because if you don't ask the question, how are you ever going to learn? You're always going to be so afraid to give it a shot, and therefore you're not gonna know what to do. I know there's a lot of people that when they get a question, when they ask, some people make fun of them. We're not going to do that here. We're family. So remember that we're family. Okay, let's do this thing here. So c4 is the lockdown. Bishop b2, and then knight d7 here. This is the idea with black says what, and this is actually what Simon Williams, Grandmaster Simon Williams, talks about. Certain nicknamed Ginger GM is this. He says where he would take his knight, like go back here. He would take his knight. He would go, who on this? Where do I want this knight to go? Where would this knight right here want to be? And he would say, I want it to be on a4. And then he would go back in his mind. How do I get it to a4? Ah, beautiful. So he would backtrack to, he would already be in his mind placing the knight on a4, saying that's the optimum place because remember, white doesn't have any dark square bishop anymore, so it would be a double attack on c3 if you can get a knight to a4. And so Simon Williams would say, how do I get it there? And you go from d7, b6 to a4. So you go knight d7 to knight to b6 to knight to a4. And therefore, in 3 moves, you would be able to counter strike on the 4th move with the queen and the knight. And that's why black played knight d7. In black's mind, they had already asked where was the best spot for the knight, and of course we found out the knight's best spot, because they played c4, pawn c4 for black, was to go after the weak c3 pawn. And there's nothing that a knight really can't get there. It would take, let me see, I'm trying to figure out how could the knight would actually have to get to this spot here. So let's see how that could actually originate. Let me see here. I'm just trying to figure out how a knight could, because a knight would have to get here to guard this pawn. So that'd be kind of tricky. Let's see here, 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 and then there. So you basically would have to go this route here. Oops, sorry, there, but you can't because of this pawn. This pawn stops one of the routes to get the knight in there, so you're kind of in a pickle. And that's what grandmasters look at. They look at, and they know how many squares. Like the knight, it takes 4 moves to get here, and it takes 1 move to get 2 moves to get here, or 1 move to get there for a knight. And I believe it's like 3 for these here, because there's actually a chart on how many moves it takes to get to these. Like these are 3 right here, not this. These are 3 moves for a knight, because you have to go here and then here to get to that square. And this is 1 move where you can come here, or you can come here and you can get to this square here. And this square is 1 move. This and so yes, you get to learn how, and then this is a one move square, and I think this is two, one, two. So yeah, you get to learn how many squares it takes for a knight to actually get to a certain spot. Once you learn those, you can actually predict if the knight can get to your passed pawn on the other side of the board in time. And that's how you get better. That's what the grandmasters calculate, and that's why they do exchanges. Sometimes you wonder why are they exchanging their good pieces for like bad pieces and all that, because they're getting to an endgame where a knight can't reach the passed pawn square in time. It's pretty cool. Chess is as more than as I like to say more in Transformers more than meets the eye. That's the Transformers motto. All right, let's get back into it. This is getting fun, 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 fun. Till my daddy take my T-bird away. So H4 here. White's trying to get their counter thrust. A3. Now they're trying to poke in here and see if they can't attack with the queen coming in to go after A2. This is kind of like even tightening the noose even more around. Not the noose. Sorry, the vice. Getting the vice even more tightened. There we go. So there's queen to B. Let me see here. I want to make sure I got this. So queen A, rook H3, queen B2, and then rook C1. Guard this pawn. They're saying knight B6 here. If if queen takes the pawn, then I think it's equal with knight H. They're saying knight H2 here. Queen A A3 with the queen, coming back to defend, and then the knight could actually come. You have a pass pawn on the queen side. So remember that might have been better than what was actually played. They're trying. Black's trying to get everything that they can out of the position. They're trying to get knight to a4 here to threaten to win this, and queen wins here. They're trying to get optimum setup. And black surprisingly has turned the table on white, and now they're the one with a slight advantage. So you got to be careful when you're facing the classic French. You don't want to get sucked in and get destroyed. Okay, so we're at 16 here. So H5, B. So H5 is played. This now is a lockdown. So now they got a lockdown, and they could potentially play G4, rook G3, and then G5. And then now the pain's going to start happening to black. That's their optimized plan there. Bishop D7 here. And this is so that at the right moment the king can come up if they had to E7 here, transport over a rook, and then the king can actually board walk all the way over to C7. It's not like boardwalk on Monopoly, but you know what I mean. He does the little dance. Do a dance, do a dance, do a dance, baby. Oh yeah. Gotta have fun with chess. That's what makes it stick in the old brain. So H4, and now C3 is secured by the rook at this point. Still better for black, but not out of the woods yet, my friend. Not out of the woods. And in it comes. Whoop, whoop, whoop. All right. F4. You gotta love this. This still's on pre. the king could actually now come up to e7, slide the rook over. No problems, no problems. Oh yeah. So f4, b5. Now it's starting to happen. They're both getting their advances going. Bishop to g4, getting ready for the old kaboom attack of f5. And so king to e8 is an exclam continuation. He's now going to be transporting himself all the way over, doing the tango to d8 to c7. f5 it was played here. Finally, white gets their idea in, and white's like, oh, okay. Black's like, okay, go, do it, do it. If they take it, we take, and we have king c7. Beautiful game here. Beautiful game. Rook f3. Preparing after takes for the rook to pop into f7. They might have to take a second here and actually maybe play f8. That might be an idea. But you have to be careful that that's actually I think this is a mistake, rook f8. So don't play rook f8, because then what happens? There's a pin, taking, bishop takes, and you actually lose. So you might want to. You have two. That's actually not the best continuation. Make sure you either play like king to c7, or and then you can actually get your other rook involved with f8 here, and that rook af8 that way. Or you could play something like a5 and try to undermine the queen side as quick as you can to kind of, as I like to say, open the open the can. You know how a can goes around. Black's trying to open the can on the queen side, where white's trying to open the can on the king side, and they're both saying, "Bring it, bring it, bring it." So that's where we are so far, 2022. So we're 22 a5 here. So they played the a5 move. They're coming b4. C takes. F takes e. F takes e. And then knight g6. In it comes. White's position is coming straight on through. Rook e8 forced. Knight f4, which this is actually a dubious move. Dubious. There's no reason to reroute your knight. Leave it there, boy. Leave it there. Rook f7 is crushing. Sometimes they don't play the best continuations. And I know you saw rook f7. Congratulations if you did. Great job. Because that's devastating. That's like a total crushing move. Now you can play, if you need to, queen over, and or you can actually play a thrust with let me see, knight here, and taking advantage there. That's an idea. And so let's see what more moves could arise out of that. Rook takes. Let's see here. Sorry, I had actually the wrong move there. It's actually rook all the way down. Rook takes. I had a mouse slip there. My bad. My bad. Rook takes. Rook takes. Oops. Let me see. C takes. What's the? It's okay. Oh, yeah. This isn't the best either. I actually had the. Let's see. Takes. I want to make sure I'm doing this right. Hold on. Just give me 1 second. So a5. F takes. That's right. F takes. G takes. Okay, so we were doing the right line. I'm sorry, I was one thing off on that move. queen takes, knight takes. Rook a1. B4. And then rook takes g7 here. And there's knight to b8 here, and d1. Rook d1 and knight c3. Rook a. This is actually a perpetual back and forth. This is a perpetual line where black can bail out with a draw. But white didn't want to bail out with a draw. White wanted to go for the gustos, as I like to say. All for one and one for all. That's kind of the knight. See here, f1, king f1. They're both rerouting their kings out of the old pocket or roux. b4 is coming down the old pocket. 92 to prepare for the blast off of opening the position. Then rook f7 here, or f8 here. This is to actually trade off material and get to a 1 position where white and black are basically equal. This is actually though winning for black here. So black's actually a ton better in this line. I have no idea why they actually went down that. That didn't make sense. King c7. 1. Okay, there before knight e2, rook f, and then this they did another dubious continuation. No, this didn't actually have anything to do with the position. Taking, a takes b, rook takes, king g1. Because it's actually what white wants to do anyway, is move their king. Knight c3, knight takes, b takes, and then queen d1. Although even black has an excellent chance of picking up the a pawn here without really any problems. I know what you're saying though, but there's can't the if the queen takes here, the rook come in and slide down a check? Yeah, but it's black who's pushing here. Black's the one with the big push at this point. White has nothing to show for any of their stuff because they started playing passive moves. This move's actually the move, in my opinion, that set the stage for black to do an outstanding attack. Let me get a quick drink and then we'll continue onward. Okay. So we're at 8. Let's see here. They did F. Look, F E8. Black missed their opportunity. They had an opportunity to land a devastating blow with knight takes c3. Boom! I gotta do it again. Boom! That's the I had to do it because that was crushing. Knight takes check. So in for a penny, in for a pound. Bishop takes. Bishop takes. Knight e4, and then queen e3 and c3 here. Exclam. You're going, but wait, can't the bishop just nab the this pawn here? Yeah, but let me see here. I want to make sure I have these in the right shot. Let's see. Queen e3. Let me make sure I got this there. Knight e4. Queen e3. c3. Exclam. Queen e1. Because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, the bishop could just nab this, but yeah. But then see you later, alligator. You have this. You have this jump here. So when the king moves over, you could actually play taking here. Well, actually, no. You take here, and then it's completely game, set, match after up here. There we go. So at this point, I may have to, let me see here. Let me make sure. Okay, check in here. I have to get this deleted here. King up. Check. Or what you could do is play queen takes. That's probably the best. Queen takes. Bishop takes. Queen f1. Rook takes. Rook takes a1. Oh, nice. Because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wait, can I just take here? Yeah, but then he takes there, and then you have that, and you're winning. Wow. Woo woo. You gotta love that. Woo 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 woo. That's why Queen E1 has to be played. That is just something else. That's something else for sure. Wow. The queen takes the pawn, and white is busted at this point. White is completely busted. There's nothing that white can actually do here. So that's why the rook move was sad, very sad. They could have actually busted white with one line continuation. Very risky. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? So yeah, if you like what you see, click follow, much appreciated. We're going over a French classic variation. We're at the end game. It's getting pretty intense. If you like to stay around and watch the last bit of it, you're more than welcome to stay. All right. Let's dive in. This is getting good. This is the good part here. Okay. Knight e2 is is what was played at this point, trying to keep a lockdown. See, beforehand, when the knight moved to f4, that was the mistake that could have landed white with a black with a humongous edge, with just taking, and then you have that whole entire line where white's busted at that point. Surprisingly, the this move here, knight to f4, was a completely losing move. Even though it's dubious, it's just busted. But this allowed white to come back. Basically, now it's equal. It's basically equal. So you got to be careful that you don't during the time look to see what the move is, what the drawback to it, and the drawbacks to these moves. Sometimes you can find out what was the drawback when the knight moved to f4 was it gave up the protection of c3. And at that point, you could have won the pawn, caused white to have a lot of problems. But remember, you have to be okay with a position that's so sharp that if you play it wrong, it could cut you. But hey, I'd rather it be cut and win than not to have tried it and gone, got get a draw where I take it back, plug it into my engine, and if I had played the move that I thought about playing because we had studied properly, Team Chess Crutcher has studied properly, they we could have actually won, and maybe that could have been the win that took you to getting another norm to getting whatever title you want. USCF or ELO. And so you got to be careful. Like there's been a lot of grandmasters that have drawn a position where they were actually completely winning. So you have to be super duper careful. Okay, so he moves back to e2 at this point. White basically probably wiped their brow and said, "I am so happy that I didn't get totally trounced or trounced on that one." And they could have really gotten totally owned. Takes, rook takes. Black does grab a pawn here, but really it's not as strong as the prior move because now they don't have the material to actually, in theory, walk it all the way down. There's weaknesses on black's side, the king side, and there's weaknesses on the queen side for white, and they both have to guard their weaknesses. And sometimes they have to, even to give it up a pawn, they have to guard it. So let us continue onward with the next move continuations. Queen takes, queen e2, e3 here. This is they're going to try to regain the pawn, maybe even trap the queen with this move, and they might even actually after this move in the queen plays to b2, they might actually play a queen c3 here and force the exchange of the queens off the board. At that point, it's going to basically peter out to a draw because there won't be enough material to keep it down the board. These two rooks will double, the bishop will get involved, and everything will start cementing where the kings come in, and it'll be a draw. That's why you gotta when you have the moment to strike, the iron's hot, come down like Thor with Mimi or whatever I think his hammer's name is Mimi. Come down and smash the ground, and cause all the chaos you can, and then obliterate your opponent. And then you know what? When you do that, you start getting that confidence that I could do it, I could do it, I could do it, I could do it. You're gonna get better as a chess player. So a4 here, pawn push. Here we go. Woo, woo. On the way we go up the board. Here we roll. And then now we talk about that. Queen b2. Let's see if they actually trade off. Oh, interesting. He played king e2. Wow. Thought for sure they were going to trade off queens and try to lock down this position here. But you don't never know. Rook e to b1. Yeah, this right now, this is the game changer right there. See, white keeps letting black have hope, and they should have just shut down all their hope with queen to queen here would have been a great. Let me see. After this, queen here would have been ooh, actually that's wrong. Oh, yikes! That hangs the rook. Okay, my bad there. Okay, so they can't actually play that. Okay. Oh, that's why they. Oh, that makes sense why they play king e2 now, because they want to be able to double these rooks and then play. Okay, play there. Yeah, very tricky position. You have to be on your guard totally all the time. So yeah, this is the move, a vital move that was played. Very good move for black. They're counter striking right now. King d1, king d1. What did I played the wrong king move. Sorry about that, dude. Sorry about that, team. No, ay, ay, ay. There we go. Now this makes more sense than king d1, and now they're going to be able to trade off this. Okay, because the king wants to guard the rook, and then you could play queen c3, and then that would trade off the queens, which would allow a holdable position for white. But white doesn't allow that. I mean, black doesn't allow that. They go, let's get together, yeah, yeah, yeah. Exclam. That is pretty ingenious. So, what if pawn this takes here? Oh, nice. Very tricky. That's a tricky move because if the pawn takes, it blocks the protection of the rook to the queen. Then you could take there. If the queen takes, it's completely losing. So the only move that does anything is actually rotates rook. A takes B. Now all the pawns are connected. C takes B. Queen takes G2 here, and then now you're getting everything that you want out of the position. You're gonna basically double up the rooks and try to go for a knockout. And if pawn takes here, you actually have potentially bishop to a3. Very interesting continuation. But this is what was played in the game. So takes, B takes, A takes. They didn't take that way. They took after this. They took A takes B. C takes B. Rook A3. And now you're getting to see queen to C3. This is the idea behind the move. And then they're taking this pawn here. They actually stepped up and did the correct continuation here. This is actually the knockout blow because now it shuts down all counterplay. Let's see. They're saying besides the queen move, if rook c3 were played here, that rook a1 check, rook c1, c3, and king e1. That can't be right. That'd be completely losing. Oh, rook takes a1. That's right. Get rid of that. Rook takes a1. Queen takes no c2 check. King e1. That's where the king e1 comes in now. I got it. Queen takes check, and then king e2, and then queens. And black promotes and wins. So that's why they didn't do the rook move, and they sacked basically the pawn. Now black's completely dominant here, even though it looks like what? Because the bishop's hanging. If pawn takes here, The bishop actually, let me see, bishop e2, e2. If the bishop didn't move, and let's say that, oh, actually, you can't take, can you, because of this? Wow. This is just mind blowing. Yeah, this is over. This is completely a game, set, and match. White blew their opportunity, and it's done. Played too passive. Let me get a sip of tea, and then we'll get back into this. Yeah, that is crazy. How a table can turn within a moment if you don't play the correct move continuation. Wowzers! Wow, wow, wow. So rook a2 is now playable here. This now you're threatening Ash in one of our tactical battles. This is a standardized mate that we get, queen to e2. You could actually set these mates up. It's the hard one thing that a lot of grandmasters say that the hardest thing to do is actually to spot these mates up ahead of time. So you have to be able to have this knowledge on board and know what positions to actually play to get to this. So you have to be really on the ball the whole time you're playing chess. Rook c2, rook c2 here. Queen g1 check. King d2. Queen g5 check. King d1. I think if they played the check here, I think that checking here would happen, and then when this gets played, then you have another check here, and a lot of sitches is gonna start happening down the board. I think it's playable, but D1 is actually the best continuation for the king out of the worst position. It's getting pretty nasty. I don't like this position. And then the rook goes a1. Rook a1, and it's the at this point this is an exclam move. Because you see what would happen if queen takes. Do you guys see what would happen? If this is played, what would be the move? I'm going to give you guys a second to see, because you waited this long. You took a lot of your time out to view this, so I want you to find the knock knock, as I like to call it. Excellent job if you spotted queen g1. The only move that could happen is bishop here, and then you start losing material. So the only move that could actually be played is actually this here. Rook intercepts, and then rook a2 here. Rook c2. Rook a2, a1. Rook c1. Gotta be careful. Oh, how come it's not? Let's see one. What's the move now? Interesting. I want to see what they're saying the correct continuation is. C1. Rook takes. Queen takes. G1. Oh, that's very tricky, because king comes up here, and you nab this pawn. Nice, very nice. B takes. Yeah, so the king's not going to come up to D2 to get smacked. King's going to go to C2. Queen takes check. And the queen, not queen takes check, but queen takes D. B takes C. Bishop a4 check. King b1. Queen to e3 check. And white's bishop falls after king to a1. The bishop is lost. And then if pawn takes check, you just move your king over to c. And if takes, maybe not d7. Maybe king d8, and then if taking happens here, you can actually grab this there. And then therefore you secure your bishop advantage with a check. After the king moves, you come here and you grab that pawn. Then if some sort of checks start happening, you like right here, we'll say here, actually no, you're a check, so if then you can actually slide your bishop back and block and get everything going. So yeah, that's pretty incredible. I'm gonna save this to the library right here, and then we'll say adieu on that. I wanted to thank you all again for logging on, participating. Remember, thank you for spending your time, because I gotta tell you, it's a lot of time, but it's worth it to learn and improve and get better. Thank you for all the subs and the follows. Much appreciated to every one of you. And remember that you can always learn. And remember to take what we always say. Take what you know, this Team Chess Coach motto, and apply it and be willing to do something with it. Treasure your victories and learn from your losses. Remember that mistakes don't define who you are. It's how you handle mistakes defines who you are as a chess player. And remember that decisions are a vital part of chess. And you got to see how wrong decisions could jeopardize your entire position. And decisions of receiving the Lord Jesus, Lord and Savior, is a vital decision we all have to make. Eternity is forever. A lot of us don't want to think about that, but it's a vital decision. Like on a chessboard, your life is decisions. And I pray that you make that proper decision to receive Jesus, Lord and Savior of your life before it's too late, because we all have to be accountable one day. So again, thank you so much for viewing. If you like what you see, click follow or subscribe, either one, on all the platforms, Kick, YouTube, and Twitch. And I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Be blessed, my friends. Bye-bye.